So what have you guys been doing though? Enough about me. What have you guys been doing this week?
I've been testing out the Doom Eternal and a bunch of other games on this Framework laptop that Framework sent me. It's the
Nice.
Framework 13. It's got the 7840U, the Ryzen 7 7840U,
Oh,
and
dude.
16 gigabytes of RAM. And I love this laptop. It's got the modules in the back here, so you can like just pop the module out like that,
Oh,
dude. And
dude.
there's four of them. So I've been messing around with this and trying to get this to work and benchmarking it. And I'm hoping to have a video out about this on Monday. So very excited about this.
I've always wanted those frameworks laptops.
They're so cool. They're like there's a few little issues with this laptop, but I'm gonna save those issues for my review.
Yeah, it is a really cool laptop. It's really, it'd be fun to play with one of those. Doom Eternal wise though, like that thing runs on everything.
Yeah, it's really well optimized and it works really great on there. There's
That'll
a
be
lot of
interesting
games
to see.
actually. What games do you like to benchmark? Because I got some time before I have to get this video like done, and so what do you guys like to use for benchmarking?
It's a good question. For me, Doom Eternal is actually one of the ones I do, especially for low end devices, because like on the Steam Deck, it is ridiculous. And you hook it up to a TV and the upscaling on that thing, like makes it look like you're playing it on the PS4 or 5 or whatever. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Anything that has like benchmarking tools in it, I'll tend to use games wise, but I tend to mix it up every year. I feel like Dead Space, sometimes I like to see how that works because their events aren't controlled well. And so you can see where it really hits the GPU on certain and RAM and all that, like where it really hits it in certain areas. And I like to test that out just to see how well the device can handle it. But yeah,
yeah.
those are,
I'm definitely gonna try Dead Space now that you mentioned it because I have the remastered one and I like how that works. I just like that game a lot anyway.
one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do too much performance benchmarking. The most benchmarking I've done is like the battery testing, and that's just me setting up devices and recording for fucking 8 hours on end.
I'm the opposite. I'd rather do benchmark of a game than before I do a benchmark of the battery because I have kids and they'll mess it up. They'll come in and they'll mess it up somehow.
Yeah. I don't like doing any benchmarking, but people complain when I just give like a straight review, like this is how everything felt to me. People hate that for some reason. And
I do that a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to add like some kind of benchmarks and then you don't get like the angry, like, why didn't you test the circularity of the D-pad? I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. It's hard. I don't know. I do a lot of controller reviews on my channel and people are like, you need to test the circularity of the analog stick. And I don't know how to do that.
You gotta control the narrative. I find you gotta like set expectations of these are my benchmarks. I go off of feel and how it is and like it, and then it helps, but you're never going to get away from commenters that are going to be angry.
It's all about like the subjective experience to me. And that's why I like reviewing laptops and hardware like that because I don't know, I like having things to compare to. And that's where my benchmarking is. It's like my subjective experience using like the HP Dev 1 versus using like a Purism laptop versus using a framework. It's like, that's where my benchmarks lie.
Yeah, mine's fully off of like recommendations. Like, should you and who's this for is kind of like how I go about it typically.
Yeah, my controller benchmarks are nowhere near as complex. Mine are just, can I do this really hard to do move in a fighting game with a D-pad? Then it's a good controller.
Yeah. Well, I think that's not a bad thing though.
That's not as good of a right because I can do them on like just about every controller too, which I guess is not whatever. I go off of feel and whether or not I like them for 3D games, 2D games. I mean, the circularity thing. I think they're talking about that one application that shows like or I guess it's a web app, I guess, that shows like margins of errors for the stick where you like rotate it slowly and it shows like the blue graph. I forget what the name of that website is.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see like the UI in my head, but I've only used it once, and I was using that when I was like developing a game for a browser that I never released.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I think that's what they want to see.
Yeah.
You got to give it to them. It's like, oh, it's got a 0.001% like error in the sticks.
Yeah, that makes sense.